Hello, good morning everyone. Myself Arul Infant. Today I'm gonna explain the poem Grandma Climbs a Tree. Grandma Climbs a Tree is a poem written by Ruskin Bond. In this poem, the poet is speaking about the unusual habit of his grandma, whom he loves very much. We'll get to know about it later. But firstly, we will learn about Ruskin Bond. Ruskin Bond was born in Kasauli in 1934. Ruskin Bond now lives in Missouri. He did his schooling from Bishop Cotton School in Shimla, from where he graduated in 1950. He won several writing competitions in the school, including the Irwin Divinity Prize and the Haley Literature Prize. He wrote one of his first short stories, Untouchable, at the age of 16 in 1951. Following his high school education, he went to his aunt's home in the Channel Islands in 1951 for better prospects and stayed there for 2 years in London. He started writing his first novel, The Room on the Roof, the semi-autobiographical story of the orphaned Anglo-Indian boy named Rusty. He did various jobs for a living. He worked for a few years freelancing from Delhi and Dehradun. He sustained himself financially by writing short stories and poems for newspapers and magazines. Coming to his literature style, most of his works are influenced by life in the hill stations at the foothills of Himalayas, where he spent his childhood. His first novel, The Room on the Roof, was written when he was 17 and published when he was 21. It was partly based on his experience at Dehradun in his small rented room on the roof and his friends. His earlier works were written without it being meant for any particular readership. His first children's book, Angry River, published in the 1970s, had its writing toned down on a publisher's request for a children's story. On writing for children's, he said, "I had a pretty lonely childhood, and it helps me to understand a child better." Bond's work reflects his Anglo-Indian experiences and the changing political, social, and cultural aspects of India. Having been through colonial, post-colonial, and post-independence phases of India, Bond has experienced India very well. Ruskin Bond says, "My grandmother was a genius. You'd like to know why? Because she could climb trees spreading or high. She'd be up in their branches in a trice. And mind you, when last she climbed a tree, she was 62. Ever since childhood, she had this gift for being happier in a tree than in a lift. And though as years went by, she would be told that climbing trees should stop when one grew old, and that growing old should be gone about gracefully. She'd laugh and say, 'Well, I'll grow disgracefully. I can do it better,' and we had to agree, for in all the garden there wasn't a tree she hadn't been up at one time or another, having learned to climb from a loving brother when she was 6. But it was feared by all that one day she'd have a terrible fall. The outcome was different while we were in town. She climbed a tree and couldn't come down. After the rescue, the doctor took Granny's temperature and said, 'I strongly recommend a quiet week in bed.' We sighed with relief and tucked her up well. Poor Granny, for her it was like a brief season in hell, confined to her bedroom while every breeze whispered of summer and dancing leaves. But she had held her peace till she felt stronger. Then she sat up and said, 'I'll lie here no longer.' And she called for my father and told him, undaunted, that a house in a treetop was what she now wanted. My dad knew his duties. He said, 'That's all right. You'll have what you want, dear. I'll start work tonight.' With my expert assistance, he soon finished the core, made her a tree house with windows and a door. So Granny moved up, and now every day I climb to her room with glasses and tray. He sits there in a state and drinks sherry with me, upholding her right to reside in a tree." In this whole poem, Bond has spoken about his lovely grandma, all about her activities, her passion, and other things. In the first stanza of this poem, Bond starts by calling her grandma a genius. He calls her so because she had the capacity to climb any sort of tree which was spreading or high. She would have climbed it and be up in their branches. She was able to climb the trees even at the age of 62. Ever since her childhood, she had this gift, the gift of climbing trees. She used to enjoy climbing trees a lot. She was feeling very happy to climb the trees. She had more pleasure and happiness in a tree than in a lift. As years went on and Grandma became old, and her well-wishers suggested that she must stop climbing trees, suggested Grandma that growing old should be gone about gracefully. But the Grandma did not pay heed to their words. In fact, Grandma laughed and said that she will grow disgracefully. What is in that? But she can assure that she can do it better. Others would agree to her. What can she do in a better way? Luckily, there was no tree in their garden. Grandma had learned this amazing skill of climbing trees from her loving brother when she was 6 years old. All the family members and the old people feared that if she climbs tree, one or the other day some danger would happen to her. They assumed that Grandma would climb a tree and have a terrible fall. But however, the outcome was different. Once the family members were out of town, Grandma had climbed a tree and could not come down. Later on, Grandma was brought down from the tree and rescued. After the rescue, the doctor took her temperature and suggested that she had to take a complete bed rest for 1 week. There was no major harm to her. Family members sighed with relief when Grandma was on the bed. It was like a little hell. Her bedroom is like a prison and she felt that she is imprisoned in her room. During her rest period, when she was in her room, she can feel the breeze and whisper of dancing leaves in the summer. Grandma had held her peace till she felt stronger. Then she sat up from the bed and said, "I lie here no longer." And she called the poet's father, who was her son. She said to her son that she could not lie on the bed any longer, and without hesitating, she ordered that she wanted a house on the treetop. Her son was very obedient and dutiful to his mother. He respected to her words and politely said to her that, "That's all right, you'll have what you want, dear." After saying this, he immediately started the work with the help of his son, who was an expert. They finished their work and made her a little beautiful house on the treetop. The house had windows and a door. After that, Grandma moved up to the house and started living there. Her grandson Ruskin Bond could climb the tree every day to give glasses and tray. The grandson supplied food and wine to her. She sits there and eats and drinks with her grandson. This she can claim her right to live on a tree.